things that Aaron Zeigler has decided to do to invest in our people is what sets us apart.
Welcome, everyone, to the Driving Vision podcast brought to you by the Zeigler Auto Group. And here with me, Auto Group Director of Talent Development, Mike Van Ryn. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Sam.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, like it if you do, and leave a comment. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the special edition of the Driving Vision Future of Zag Today podcast, where we bring Team Zeigler in to talk about the latest award earned by the Auto Group. So Mike Van Ryn, Director of Talent Development, VP of Talent and Development. Talk to us about what this award is and what it means to Team Zeigler.
Well, Sam, we are super excited, and congratulations to our teams across the board on winning the National Best and Brightest Companies to Work For award.
Wow.
6 times in a row.
Wow. It wasn't enough to win it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. We just keep doing it 6 times. Like, how many other companies have done that, Mike?
I don't even know, but as our friend Jim Craig says, winners win.
Yep. Yeah.
So that continuous improvement, and it's really just a nice tribute to all of our teams across the board.
Yeah. So speaking of winners, joining us also here today, GM here at the Kalamazoo campus, Zach Terrell. Zach, many of you know you from another winning tradition, which is football. You were a leading NCAA collegiate football quarterback here at Western Michigan. You took the Broncos to a bowl game and had an incredible experience there. You've brought that winning tradition here to Team Zeigler, so you join us for the conversation today. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, that was a long time ago, but I appreciate you reminding people. They might not know.
Given my age, it wasn't that long ago. How long ago was it?
It feels long ago.
How long ago?
This would be the 8th season since that's been.
Yeah.
So I've been with Zeigler now for almost 7 years. So 8 seasons.
By the way, Mike, don't you agree? Not that long ago. As we venture into this conversation, your last season with Western Michigan, what was your record?
13-0.
13-0. Your first season with Western Michigan.
My first season as a starter, I was 1-11.
You became good at turning adversity into opportunity and learning how to execute in difficult environments.
Absolutely. And I know what it looks like to have a good culture. And I also know what it looks like to have a really, really bad culture.
Yeah.
And a direct reflection on winning and culture.
Yeah.
And now everybody has different definitions for culture, but I don't really think it needs to be defined. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about Team Zeigler is it doesn't matter what store you go to or who you talk to or whether you see people at the Christmas party or at different developmental stages, you can feel it. And you even hear that from speakers when they come in. They tell you, hey, there's something different about this place. And that's why we're a 6-time winner.
So you brought your background, your experience in sports to benefit the Auto Group here. Mike, we have a lot of other backgrounds across the Auto Group. So name some people that have come to our Auto Group from different disciplines and fields that have brought that commitment to winning and to executing. I think of our finance director in Hoffman Estates, Charlie Troust, right? CPA, excellent in that field. Decided, hey, I want to go into the car business. I think about a GM at a Maserati store in Granville, Michigan, who was a world-renowned balloon pilot, one of the very best out there, actually consulted on Up. Put that aside, said, hey, I want to come work for the Zeigler Auto Group. Anybody else you think of, Mike?
Yeah, I think we have an MMA fighter that came to work for us.
Yes.
He's a sales professional in our Elkhart store. A lot of different backgrounds, right? It's so interesting to see the success people have with different backgrounds across the ZAG.
Yeah. So how has your background in football, and we will go there, even though it was super long ago, because it's interesting to people, how has that benefited you as you've led a team here at the Zeigler Auto Group and you've created the culture that is uniquely Zeigler?
Yeah, I think there are I always tell people that, playing sports and working at a dealership are about the 2 closest things that you can get. The camaraderie, the time you spend together, but the competitiveness, right? Competition. Yeah. And that was the word of the year for my stores here in Kalamazoo was competition. Mm. And, when things get tough and things get competitive, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
And there's no coincidence why, we say winners win. There's no coincidence why people have success. Mel Tucker said success leaves clues. Yeah. And I truly believe that. And there's a lot of things that we do here at the Auto Group, and that's why we're successful.
So name a couple.
So, just think of all the performance groups we have.
Yeah.
I know buddies that are at Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies. They don't have that. The investment into the group, the speakers on a regular basis, the things that Aaron Zeigler has decided to do to invest in our people is what sets us apart. And I always tell people, I've seen a lot of leaders in my day, but leaders that, have vision and execute on that vision is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And there's only a few people that can do that on a high level and consistently. And that's what sets us apart is it starts at the top and it works its way down. And it's an infection. It gets into everybody.
It's contagious.
So the one specific example you gave are performance groups or best practice sessions.
Yeah.
That's unique in this industry because that's leaders who compete against each other, coming together to share best practices, things that make them successful. Talk about how that sharing in a very selfless way to help other people win in a very competitive environment, because you want to win versus one of the other Zeigler stores. How is that similar to sports? Like, we compete to win together, not to compete to win over.
Yeah, competition will bring the best out of everybody. And I think that's the way we see it here.
Yeah.
Is when I go to a best idea session and, somebody's sharing something and I'm like, wow, I'm going to take that idea and I'm going to use it here and it makes us better.
Yeah.
Well, then we're really competing. I think that's when, you have, a really high achieving team is when your hardest workers are your most talented individuals and they're willing to share and compete.
Yes.
And I mean, that's what it's all about. We want competitors.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to, in everything we do, share, collaborate, and compete at a high level. And that's how we all get better.
Yeah. Mike, thoughts on that?
Yeah, Sam, Zach, we had a leadership session this morning, and about a half hour before the session officially began, you see leaders across our organization connecting and collaborating, sharing ideas, asking about goals, asking about dreams. And I think it's that culture of connection, that culture of sharing that makes us unique. And as Zach said, it's contagious, and you can feel it when you walk into our dealerships. You can feel the difference.
All right, so thinking about this award, what are the specific metrics that have allowed us to win this so many years in a row? What is this award based on?
So a large portion of it, Sam, is actually based upon a survey that is sent out anonymously to our team members across the group. So they have to fill that survey out on things all revolved around culture, around engagement, around communication, things that we do to recognize them, things that Zach alluded to with Zeigler University, their career path, their development. So tons of questions revolved around that.
Yeah. And where did we score the best? Like, what did you see some of those reports, or do you see them? Maybe you don't.
Yeah, you actually do. You actually do get some feedback on that. So some of our highest areas were actually recognition was a very high area, and communication. And it's neat to see some of the things that we've brought online, including this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And some of the live streams, the town halls that Aaron Zeigler does, the monthly sales calls that you do, Sam. Just that communication. When you think about top performers in any role, they want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They want to be communicated with, but they also want to be recognized. And we have so many things across the ZAG that we do for recognition as well. That's a huge part of our culture.
Yeah. So when you think about every contributor, like a sports team, everybody on that team is important, right? Everybody on that team is valued and worthy of being recognized. It is interesting how in our auto group compared to other places, how recognition isn't top down, it's flat. Like everyone gets the opportunity to recognize across the group. Zach, tell us a little bit about some of the opportunities that team members get to both recognize and be recognized.
Yes, I think there's a few things. Obviously, we have the diamond drops, and there's nothing more gratifying too than when you get like a vendor or you get like a family member that brings you a diamond drop. I mean, that's how you know it's working.
Yeah.
And then, we have our luncheons where we recognize, top performers. There's a thing we do here. We send out just a monthly email, and we recognize everybody. We have the office hero.
Yeah.
So who in the office, went above and beyond.
Yeah.
And, that's not normally a position or positions that are recognized. And frankly, they deserve it. They're one of the biggest reasons why we're able to do what we do. So just things like that, the little things sometimes make the biggest impact.
So let's talk specifics about this diamond drop thing. You mentioned diamond drops. Sure. To me, before I came to be part of the group, it meant nothing. And in fact, it was almost something you could make fun of. Diamond drop is deer dropping. What? I don't know what it sounds like, but it doesn't sound
What's
good.
Jim call it?
Yeah, and there's Olympic hockey gold medalist Jim Craig, who's a big part of our team, who does consulting with us on the side, who led the training session this morning with our own leader, Ben Coops, initially even said, I don't get it, right? Yeah. But once you've received one, once you give one, You actually get it, Mike. Tell us a little bit about what is it and where did it come from?
Yeah, so this idea actually came from our culture team way back in, I think, 2005 or 2006. And basically, it's a handwritten note that's available to every employee or every team member across the auto group. And we actually train on it with every month. All the new employees that come on board, they learn how to recognize others, how to look for someone doing something good, whether it's for each other, whether it's for a customer or so forth. And anybody can write them. They're so powerful. And sometimes they're even more powerful and it's more meaningful if you get one from a fellow team member than it is getting one from your manager.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, one of the toughest things in any industry, but even more in the auto industry, is having a great idea and getting that idea to stick. So you come up with an idea 10 years ago or however long. It's like, hey, let's have everybody write nice notes to each other, right?
Yep.
The fact that that stuck and became a part of the culture, how did that stick? What was it that the team, that Aaron did to make that an important part of the culture? And how did we, in the auto industry, as with any industry, sometimes you hear an idea and you're like, yeah, that's a great idea, but I'm just going to wait until that dies down and then I don't have to think about it anymore. Or you get super negative people that are like, hey, yeah, how does that help me sell more cars? And does it? What was the difference between having that idea and then getting that to execute so that it became part of the culture?
Yeah, that's a very real world question, right, Sam?
Yeah.
You think back in the day when we launched these things, we had about 9 stores, about 500 employees.
Yeah.
And to see it still going today, even with all of our new locations, it's amazing. So the answer is, as leadership team, we modeled it. So the leaders modeled it.
Yeah.
But then we also had ambassadors from our Z-Force, from our culture team within each store, each rooftop, that it was their goal to really model that as well. And kind of like Zach said, it was contagious, but it's almost like when you start a little fire and put more kindling on and it just spreads and goes, it spread like wildfire, pun intended.
But Mike, it doesn't help sell cars. It doesn't help service cars.
What feels better, receiving or giving?
Ooh, good. You know
question,
what?
right?
That is a great question.
And I think,
how do you answer that?
I mean, in my personal opinion, it's giving.
Yeah.
There's nothing I enjoy more sitting there and writing something nice to somebody that has gone above and beyond and deserves some recognition. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be public because not everybody likes public recognition, which we have found out in culture surveys. And frankly, recognition is one of the biggest pieces in these surveys that we get that our staff want and need and cherish. But it's just a very simple thing that you can take literally a minute. And there's nobody better. This is the king of Diamond Drop.
Mike is the king of Diamond Drop.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to name it after him. The Diamond Drop. It's the Mike Van Ryan Diamond Drop.
There you go.
So Mike helped to create that as part of our tradition. Aaron leaned into it, and it's become part of culture. You had to continue that here at Zeigler here in Kalamazoo. You had to double down on it so that it became part of the culture. There's something, we don't want to sound too touchy, but there's something vulnerable about writing someone accolades, right? And standing up at a meeting, which we do, right?
Yeah.
So there is a free lunch that we do once a month, but it's not a free lunch because you got to bring a Diamond Drop to it. There's something vulnerable about standing up in front of a fellow team member and reading a compliment. There's a lot of cultures out there that are so toxic that you can't get away with that. Talk to us about that. How did you take this idea, Zach, and make it an important part of culture here at Team Kalamazoo?
You just got to make it a habit, and I think you said it starts from leadership, and everybody is a leader. You're either influencing somebody positively or negatively, and it's a choice.
Yeah.
And you can choose to influence those around you positively, and this is a simple way you can do it.
What would have Diamond Drops done at the Western Michigan football locker room?
I don't know what they would have done, but I'm sure it would have had a good impact on it. We might not have gone 1-11. We might have won 2 games, which would have doubled our.
So to PJ, that might have helped in the beginning, right?
I think he's doing fine, but I do see from employees on a regular basis. I just see how they react when they get it. Yeah. And, people that have been in this company for a long time, they can take it for granted. Yeah. And, some of our leaders can take it for granted, but I encourage everybody as a refresher, just, as we go into going for year 7 of, best and brightest. Yeah. That's a big piece of it.
So an auto group that values as a core part of culture recognition through this thing called Diamond Drops. Props to you for helping to make that part of culture. And, it's cool that that's a continual focus. You mentioned another thing that's fascinating in the auto industry, and it's Z-Force, right? It's this group. They're not getting together to go sell a car together. They're getting together to do what, Mike?
Well, back in the day, we just selected the right people, the people that had the right energy, the right positivity, put them around a table, and we said, this is our culture team.
Yeah.
We coined the phrase Z-Force a few years ago, but they're passionate about people, passionate about doing the right thing and their culture.
Yeah.
And then what evolved from that has been amazing. With the Diamond Drops, our Champion of Excellence Award, which is given, and it's peer nominated, but it's selected within each rooftop 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And it's based around our values of passion, reputation, integrity, drive, and execution. Anybody can win it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had porters win them, detail, office, any position across the group. And that's continued on too. The other huge award for us, which we do one time at our annual holiday party, is our legacy tributes.
Yes.
And you guys have been part of those.
It's amazing.
Just a huge award. And often there's not a dry eye in the room when we award those. So
yeah.
Especially this last year, with Bill Hare, a father getting to read his legacy tribute to his son. I mean, it's powerful. Getting better than that.
It's a huge deal, right? It's a significant moment of recognition. How do you define culture in your role?
Culture's fluid, so it's changing every day, and that's why we're intentional. We use words world-class culture and building.
Yeah,
we're always building the culture, so it can be different in every store, and it's something they feel, and it's all about the people.
Yeah,
and it's not about the words you say, but it's about how you make people feel.
Yeah. So it is tricky in corporate culture. Oftentimes, the more you talk about it, the more you lose it. If you focus on it too much, sometimes it becomes something you become so proud of, it disappears. And that can be a culture killer. So it's fascinating here at the Zeigler Auto Group. There's actually groups that meet across the group, not to revenue generate, but to defend that culture, to think about it, to be intentional about it. What's one thing, other than the items you just spoke about, that's come from Z-Force that's helped to contribute to that, the fluidity or the development of culture over time, Mike?
Well, they actually, about 5 years ago, defined our culture, and we have that posted in all of our stores. So it's a Zeigler culture defined. And then our customers actually see that too, which is a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
It's like, what other auto group or what other even company has their culture defined on a wall for customers to see and employees to see? So that's one thing. They've done so many different things. We read books together on culture, and I've got the Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. I also have the Energy Bus by John Gordon. And then what happened there is it spreads out to the other stores, and they're reading books with their teams to get better about continuous improvement. So things like that, we've had them involved in our culture surveys across the group as well. And it's just neat to see too. And I don't believe it's a coincidence, but all the people that have been involved in those culture teams across the years, majority of them have been promoted from within and are still with us.
Yeah. All right. So one item to talk about, and then we'll come back to the big question, which in my mind is this: how does all this culture creation that ended up resulting in the award result in car sales and car service and delivering on our mission statement? Because if anything, we're competitive. If nothing else, we're competitive, right? We are. Are we competitive, Zach? Like,
yes.
I think there's few places that are as competitive as we are. And so it's remarkable that we take a moment out often to focus on some of those core things that prep us for that competition. So Zeigler Speaker Series. We have people come into the auto group from outside our industry and just talk. Most recently, we had a Nashville singer-songwriter talk about how to share stories. We had a bombing victim come in and talk about her struggle being impacted and affected by the marathon the Boston Marathon bombings. We've had a NASA pilot that said, "Hey, I want to give back to military families that have lost loved ones in the military." How does that contribute to culture, Mike?
Well, great companies give their team members things to look forward to.
Yeah.
And that's what our culture is all about, and the training development that we do. And Aaron Zeigler is very, very supportive and just loves to learn himself and continually improve. Yeah. And he's aggressive and competitive, as we know. Yeah. So it's neat that he puts such high emphasis on that. So the guest speaker thing is something that's just been awesome. We started that back in 2012 and have continued that. And people learn professionally, but they also learn personally. Sometimes they're even bringing family members in to hear those speakers, which is really neat.
So, but all of these things end up making us better selling cars and servicing cars and delivering to our customers every single day. Zach, how does listening to a fighter pilot or a bombing victim or a Nashville singer-songwriter, how does that help me sell cars?
Inspiration.
Right.
It gives
Why?
you something to look towards, because those are people, in every instance of those stories, there's some type of failure
Yeah.
that they've had.
Yeah.
And failure equals growth. And it shows you, hey, like, listen, when
Yeah.
you fail on a daily basis,
Yeah.
fail fast and learn.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the only way you're going to get better is by failure. I know it's not something that everybody loves to talk about, but every single one of those speakers,
Yeah.
you can always identify it back to something.
It's not specific to the auto industry. It's life. It's human
life.
nature.
It is,
Right.
right? And those things are applicable to your work, but at home just as much, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool part is we're investing not just in you as an employee, but we're investing in you as a person and how you can get better there too.
Sam, it's funny. It's a pretty cool story, but we have a finance manager in Lowell, Zach Cardis, and he said his first guest speaker was when he was 13 years old, coming in with dad.
Yeah.
And how neat is that? Now fast forward, he's been successful in sales, and now he's a finance manager for us.
Yeah.
But he was inspired, like
awesome.
Zach said, he was inspired when he was 13.
My first time ever stepping foot on this campus was Jim Craig speaking. That was the first. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. They must do this all the time, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, this is pretty cool bringing in a gold medalist to speak. And that was my first time ever here.
And to hear his experience in the Olympics, going from we will never beat the Russians, the greatest sports moment in the history of American sports, to we just beat the Russians, right? In the Olympic contest.
Yeah.
What it took for him to get from A to B helps me. Now, not every speaker lands. Sometimes we talk about who is our favorite, who is our least favorite.
Sure.
I really like Damon West. He talked about how he was arrested, went to jail for life in Texas, and basically had a mindset shift, totally rethought his life, came out on the other side better, and is giving back in super interesting ways. Who's your favorite speaker?
I don't know if I have like one favorite in particular, but you said like not everyone lands, but there's something you can learn from every single one.
Ooh.
I mean, there's something that I've picked from, I can't even remember all of them. Like one of them is advertising is something you pay for being unremarkable.
Yeah.
Like that's something that spoke for me. And I don't even remember who said it, but one of the speakers.
Yeah.
You probably thinking of it. You probably know, Mike, but it's not just one in particular. That's what I love about it though, is because you can get something from every single person.
So part of that though is your own mindset coming into it. Because some people come into anything in life and say, this is boring, and go to sleep. And who loses out?
It's just like our best idea sessions, right?
We've talked about that.
You can get out of it what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Damon West was phenomenal. Really, but we've had so many. It's hard to pick one, right?
Yeah.
And it's neat to see, too, because every time we bring one in, I'll get text messages or emails from different people.
Yeah.
That was the best speaker we've ever had.
You're like, that wasn't that interesting.
Because it was the last one.
It resonates with everybody in different ways.
Yeah. Was it Ben Nimpton who was the guy that went and took the bet to go do all these bucket list items?
Yeah, he was awesome.
And really was inspired to do that. I'll tell you the other interesting thing about the speaker series and getting exposed to all these different people. I can say that I've met Tom Izzo.
Yeah.
I've learned from Tom Izzo and his experiences. As I see him struggle and have successes and overcome adversity, it actually motivates me even real time in life, right? Ben Nimpton, right? To be able to say, hey, I know the guy that had a beer with Obama on a dare. It kind of emboldens me to go take that next customer. And when I get a no, to try again and again and again and again. And yet, Mike, what would you say to our other auto dealer friends or anybody out there that's like, hey, you know what? You're an auto group. Focus on selling cars. Focus on servicing cars. Don't, all this other stuff, it's non-revenue generating. There are a lot of companies that say that.
Yeah, and I would say just it pays dividends. So to our listeners out there, whether they're in the automotive industry or business in general, you start small and you can grow it from there and find the right people that are passionate about culture.
Wait, don't give people the tips. We're not actually, though, that's an interesting point because it's not about knowing what to do, right?
It's about the right people.
It's about the right people and it's about what, Zach? It's about execution, right?
Yeah, you have to execute.
Not everybody can execute, can they?
Right. No.
Not everybody can execute.
So start small. And I mean, if you're looking at bringing guest speakers in, maybe grab a local coach, to come in and motivate, inspire your team. Grab the right people, pull them around a table, talk culture, and see what they come up with. Yeah. And that's called empowerment, right? Empower your teams to build a culture. Look at some books. A couple of these books we just mentioned too, the Culture Code and the Energy Bus, 2 great books to start with. There's so many resources out there.
What year did the speaker series start?
It started in 2012.
12.
Yeah.
So
with Jim Craig, actually, was our
12
first speaker.
years. It's gone long and strong for. And how many speakers a year about?
About 5 to 8 speakers a year, typically.
Yeah. So this is going to be an unfair question. If you had to put your finger on one thing that has led to this award so many years back to back. And not only that award, by the way, Glassdoor Best and Brightest, Glassdoor Best Places to Work, an auto dealership having best work-life balance. Like, who in the car business has work-life balance, right? We have better work-life balance, I think, than, do you remember who some of them were? Maybe Starbucks. There were a couple that were kind of above us. Yeah,
absolutely.
Is there one thing, or is it all things?
That's a really tough question. You're right, Sam. I don't know that it's one thing, but I'd say it's all about the people and the experience they provide each other for our culture and our customers.
It definitely isn't one thing. I think the fact that we invest in our people and we care about all, I say 4 fires, right? You've got your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical fires. Like the things that we have in place. Like, we didn't even talk about athletic mentors and that aspect of it. And the holistic approach of investing in people shows people you care.
Outside of just that direct line of sales.
And we care.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes, loving each other and being a part of a organization that truly cares is why we get the results we do.
All right. You can't say athletic mentors and just throw it out there, because that is a part of our culture. What is it, and what do we do with them?
I think everybody should get involved, but it's our way that we can kind of track and measure how we're doing physically. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that not every corporation focuses on is, hey, how's your physical health doing? We have our walk challenges, lunge challenges, you name it. What is it now?
So once a month, there's a competition. It's a health challenge, right? And they administer it. They help us track it. And we do a celebration at the end of the month. Walk challenge, step challenge.
What is it this month?
Minutes. This month it's drinking
water.
Not drinking water. Yeah. And the idea is that if we're physically healthy, we can better connect with each other. We can better serve each other. And it's interesting. As strong a culture as we have, 2,700 employees, it's not everybody that chooses to join that. Why?
It's a very small percentage that
it is. It is.
I don't have a reason as to why, other than I would encourage people to do it. It's fun. And once again, it's competition.
Yeah.
That's the thing is you get to see every single day where you line up against everybody else in the auto group, including Aaron Zeigler. You get to say, hey, am I beating him in the steps challenge? And it's fun.
Aaron was winning in the lunge challenge until he literally broke his leg.
Broke his kneecap.
Could not go any further. And one of my favorite challenges recently was the Striker challenge. So we took on a step challenge. It was step for step against Striker. The Zeigler Auto Group, 2,700 employees against Striker, 35,000 employees. And Striker's CEO got on with Aaron, and they threw the gauntlet down and put the challenge. And guess what? You would think 2,700 versus 35, they would have just crushed us, killed us. We did come in second place, which was frustrating, but it wasn't as far apart as you would think. And more people came into the health culture with that than ever had with any other competition. So competition is healthy, especially in a healthy culture.
Absolutely. Healthy competition is healthy.
Yeah.
But yes, that is one of the pieces that we have here that definitely differentiates us from everybody else.
Yeah. Mike, any final thoughts on the award and what it's taken to put this together year after year?
Sam, it's become a tradition for us, and we're just very thankful to our teams across the Zag for everything they do for each other and for our customers. So congratulations, Team Zeigler.
Yeah, congrats, Team Zeigler. Zach, any closing thoughts on
congratulations. Let's do it again.
Let's do it.
Seven in a row is coming up soon.
7 in a row. Let's do it. Hey, Team Zeigler, thanks for being here. Appreciate everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Driving Vision podcast. A big thanks to all who contributed to this week's podcast, including Mike Van Ryn and Zach Terrell. Until next week, how are you driving vision today?